So Mark married his wife during this time, and due to the military, he was separated from them a lot. He also had three children between the age of 18 and 40. So it was definitely hard for him to maintain and create intimate relationships within his just immediate family structure because of his absence due to, military duty. However, he, in order to counteract that, he ensured that every time he was home, that he was being active and in his children's life, and definitely teaching them strong family traditions, which we'll get into in just a couple moments. So the military was definitely an inhibiting factor to the resolution of this psychological crisis. So as forms of oppression that he went through, Mark did not share that many. He didn't share really actually any oppression that he went through or any type of issue with diversity. To be honest, so there wasn't really much there to go over. As far as looking at the psychological crisis resolution through a multi-systems lens, he came from a large Italian family. His grandfather was the first person to live in this country, and his grandfather was really traditionally Italian. So they were very family focused, and Mark was that information was passed down to his father, and his father was a very hard worker. He was a provider and just a strong figurehead of his family, and Mark really took to that. He learned from his father. So he learned that he has to do what he has to do in order to provide for his family, and that his decisions should be based off of the needs of his family and not necessarily his own personal wants and needs always. So definitely his desires and his choices in life were based off of what his family needed. His father passed traditions to him, and Mark passed family traditions down to his children. A huge part of the family traditions that he passed on were annual reunions that were kept alive for many, many, many years. Up until maybe his second child, they would have annual family reunions in his little town, and most people attended, and they were very, very large. It wasn't until families started to move and disperse throughout the state that it got harder and harder to hold them. Mark, despite his military service, really tried to attend them as much as possible. So that was one major tradition that he tried to pass to his family. So his family, though they didn't get to participate in the large annual reunions, they do participate in mini ones with the local family, and they also definitely make sure that they are always visiting home, and they live very close by to Mark. Another family tradition was farming. So they came from a farming town, and they definitely grew a lot of their own food. So Mark has a large vegetable garden. He has many things that he has built, and he has built his own home, but also in his garden, and he passes that down to his family. So his children also have played a huge role in the development of his garden, and his children now have gardens of their own at their own houses, except for his daughter who doesn't have a home yet. But she comes and she assists with the family garden. So gardening has been a very large part of I, I feel with the psychological resolution because it's the way that he connected with his children despite his absence. Also, the merging belief system. So, him and his wife come from different backgrounds. His wife was Roman Catholic and he was Lutheran. Once getting married, his wife chose to go to his church, which is Lutheran, simply out of convenience, but she upheld and maintained faith and now views herself as a Lutheran. So being able to assimilate there definitely helped grow the relationship and stop from any cultural or religious uh, barriers. Mark settled in a town outside of Fort Indiantown Gap, and he was not a local. He wasn't from far away, but he was not a local. But he chose to become the next best thing, and he did this by joining American Legions, VFW posts, and really getting involved in the community. He also petitioned to be a Freemason, and he still is one today. So he says it's very important to be part of your community, especially if you want to have influence and if you want to just excel in different things. Having a strong community foundation is really, really important. So Mark did that in every way possible, and he helped many people and contributed back to the society and his community as much as he could. So he wasn't a local, but he was the next best thing, and people seemed to accept him, which was saying something because in a small town, not being from there really does matter. My second theory that I connected with emerging adulthood is, well, actually, I'd like to go back for 1 second. So basically, with all of those things that I mentioned, I think those are all the contributing factors as to why Mark was able to get through emerging adulthood and progress to the next stage, and why he was just successful at resolving this crisis and coming out of his out of this stage of life, knowing that he is loved and valued by those around him. But anyway, moving forward, so the next theory that I did was social constructivism by Lev. I'm gonna say his name is Gatsky. And basically, Lev Gatsky, he was a psychologist and a physician, and he was definitely a pioneer of his time. Vygotsky's had a really hard time getting his theories accepted by his people, and they were ignored for a very, very long time. But he never stopped defending his ideas, especially the idea that culture plays a very important role in the development of mental process. So the direction in which thoughts are developed is from a social context to the individual. He believes that learning is would be a way to appropriate the value of cultural inheritance. So learning is not just a process of an individual assimilating. It's more than that. And language is a huge part of that. Language develops the mind, and language of children is a social and an external way to grow, and slowly the things that are said become internalized. And cognitive development also happens through informal and formal conversations with adults, and that's how children learn. So children begin to receive um, the world through their own eyes, but also through their speech and their connections that they are making with other people and those around them. So language is the main vehicle of interaction with others, and is a main learning tool. And it also can be a determining factor in how the mind develops. So language is definitely essential to thought process, and social effects are huge in the development of children, and cultural beliefs as well. So in terms of family tradition, in terms of social constructivism, family tradition and the passing of values and support were main factors that can be connected to social culture constructivism. So his family teaching him and verbally commanding him and talking to him about tradition, about values, and about supporting each other, and then stepping it up and connecting it not only to culture but then to society. So his society, it was a small town, and in that time frame, it was thought that it takes a village to build a child and to raise a child. So it takes a village mentality, allowed him to connect with people in his community to help him grow, and talking to them and building relationships, and just gaining insight from a lot of people, not just one group of people, which allowed him to expand his ideas and concepts through the use of conversations. Also, same thing with farming. So farming, he was able to learn from many different people about farming, and things to do, things not to do. He was able to learn and just grow. Relationships as well were built in the small town through his participation in many different venues and organizations in town. So social constructivism definitely is a great theory that can be attributed to Mark Tadera's emerging adulthood experience. So there are some theory limitations to Vygotsky's theory, and that's there is no learning structure. So it's great to be able to talk to people and learn from their experiences and their views, and connect those and build your own ideas. However, there's no learning structure to that. So there is actual content that will be missed. So disregarding truth is something that is found to happen when using this theory. So content isn't just as important as life experiences. So it's important that content is taught to children as well as experiences and verbal knowledge and stuff like that. There's also very many variations of this theory that overlap and are layered in order to form one overarching theory. So because of that, it definitely makes it confusing and hard to follow at times, and also it's sometimes hard to implement. So that concludes my my presentation. These are my references, but if there's any questions, please just feel free to ask in the comments below. Thank you, and I wish you all luck with your presentations.